Who that is? Just added me.
Hello. I know, I see that. I see that.
Hey, what the fuck? What, Nick? What's going on? I got lost for a minute. What the hell going on? Oh.
That motherfucker.
There's two other niggas that ain't joined the lobby yet.
We still waiting on those two.
Fix something up real quick.
You know you'll look good, right? I'm looking at the ceiling, a wall,
Tired of annoying things.
Let me just...
somebody really out there. I got it. Okay, bro. game. They've even created their own carols to get you in the holiday spirit.
Ready, mom, ready, load up. Please until we sweaty, have some fun. Please on TV, grandma watching no TV.
Want to hear more? Search Quest 2 Carol on Spotify to listen to the full track.
Some tough lineup decisions to make here. On day 5. What's going on, everybody? For the show, we got your Sunday morning update for you, and there's a lot to talk about. Adam Baser and Nick Cummings here. Where else would we start than the Detroit Lions running backs? No DeAndre Swift, and he might go on IR. And no Jamal Williams today. What does it look like? Who's your favorite Lions running back, Keith?
I really hope that you don't have to start a Lions running back or a Jets running back or a Texans running back or a 49. Like, there's a whole bunch of teams, the Bills, the Panthers, that you don't have to start these guys. But if I had to choose one, I think I'm going to go with Jamar Jefferson, just because I know Godwin Igwebuike is going to probably play more on passing down and hurry up. But I think Jefferson's going to get a lot more touches. And most weeks, that's what I'm going to bet on. But I've got these guys back-to-back in both formats, right around RB 35, RB somewhere between 30 and 35. Again, they're flexes. They're not guys that I want to start. And there's
I'm heading back that way.
Uncertainty. If you told me that Jefferson got 15 touches in this game and Igwebuike got 5, I'd believe it. Flip it around, I would still believe it.
You mentioned a lot of teams there. You don't want to start a running back. You said the Jets.
You calling for some wheels? I'm Johnny on the spot. I'll hook you up.
49ers.
Okay, we'll get to the 49ers in a second. You said the Panthers, but
it's coming at you.
Right now, Chuba Hubbard's actually looking okay compared to some of these other options. I mean, I know you're not big on Chuba Hubbard, but I would much rather start him than Jamar Jefferson or Jets running back or something like that.
Yeah, I think that just
depends
on how much
In the country.
value
I'm finna hit over there now.
the apparent change in his role since Amir Abdullah got acclimated to the team. Like, even before Christian McCaffrey came back, Chuba Hubbard's snaps changed quite a bit once Abdullah joined the team, and I'm concerned that Hubbard doesn't catch a pass and that Cam Newton scores the rushing touchdown. And so that's why I don't like Hubbard as much. Amongst these backup running backs, I have him projected for fewer of the high-value touches than the other guys.
Yeah, I get that. He did have one game without McCaffrey and with Abdullah, and it was against Atlanta, and he had 24 carries in that game. Is that how many he had? He had a bunch of carries. Yes, 24 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown.
Was that Abdullah's first game on the team?
It was his second game on the team. It was his first game playing anything other than special teams, but it was his second game. But it's not a great option because, you know, with Cam, you lose you have a much lower chance of a touchdown. And that's the running back landscape this week. Now, it doesn't look like, as of right now, it doesn't look like Tony Pollard's going to play, so if you have Zeke, and we should talk about all these other crummy situations. Obviously, you start
What are you doing?
But talk about San Francisco. Which was, I think, something
Hood,
sort of exciting at one point. And now, Debo looks like he's going to play.
It's a hood slash college RP. And then like towards the middle, we can have like a car show or a pool party in between. I'm thinking we can use that bank place. And that bank downtown. I think we can use that. I forgot the name of that shit.
And Wilson and Hasty. So what does San Francisco look like?
It was sort of exciting for me when I thought Debo and Wilson were not going to play, because we knew that Hasty would just get a bunch of touches. There wasn't anybody else in the backfield, except for Brian Hill, who they did sign. But now you look at it, and I think you have to expect that Debo is going to get somewhere between 3 and 6 carries. You're probably going to get somewhat of a split between Wilson and Hasty. I don't think Wilson's going to catch passes. I do think Wilson's more likely to score a touchdown than someone like Chuba Hubbard. So that helps him out a little bit. But I want to start Debo as a top 15 wide receiver. Again, I prefer not to use the running back. But I think if you're going in non-PPR, for sure you use Wilson. In full PPR, it's more of a coin flip between those two for me, just because the way the Wilson's played so far, it might take 4 carries to equal a touch for anybody else.
Okay, so let me just fire away a bunch of names and tell me how you feel about them. Now that Debo's back, how do you feel about Brandon Ayuk?
Boom bust number 3.
What the hell?
How do you feel about Jimmy Garoppolo? Did you move him up?
He got a slight boost, but not enough to get into the real streaming conversation. He's still in that Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr range, behind Joe Burrow.
And let me just say, Debo, it's not 100% certainty that he's going to play. Just that's what we're expecting. James Robinson, a lot of James Robinson questions. How do you feel about him?
We've been looking at a lot of James Robinson questions for Urban Meyer over the last couple of weeks. This is kind of outside of what I normally do, but I'm leaning on the assumption that Urban Meyer is tired of answering James Robinson questions and tired of literally everyone talking about how he's a fool for playing Carlos Hyde over him so regularly. So I am projecting a pretty normal workload for James Robinson. He's a top 20 running back for me in all formats. I'm firing him up and I'm starting him.
Is Sony Michel a top 12 running back?
Exactly, yes. I'm 11th in one format, 12th in the other. So, yes, I fire Sony Michel over James Robinson in all formats.
A.J. Dillon.
I'm a little bit concerned for A.J. Dillon. He's behind Robinson, and he's behind Sony Michel. He is a top 24 running back for me in all formats, but I would start Aaron Jones over him. I'd start Ezekiel Elliott over him. I'd start Vontae Freeman.
Sterling Shepard making his return most likely today.
He is my favorite Giants wide receiver this week, and that is the nicest thing I can probably say about him. Borderline number 3 option, better in full PPR than in non-PPR. I would still start Ayuk over Shepard in all formats, but I'm starting Shepard over guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones,
Jalen Guyton. How about Jalen Guyton?
I would start Shepard over Guyton.
Okay. How about Justin Herbert? You feel good about him? No Keenan Allen? Yes, Mike Williams.
I feel better about him than I didn't think Mike Williams was going to play, but Herbert's a low-end starter for me. I would start Taysom Hill over, and that's really the only streamer I'd start over.
Ricky Seals-Jones for the Washington football team.
Borderline top 12 tight end. I'd start him over Noah Fant. I'd start him over Foster Moreau. Basically, I'd start him over Gerald Everett, but I've got all the typical starters ahead of him.
All right, we'll answer some questions here real quick. Knox or Ertz?
I would go with Knox.
Robinson or Montgomery, PPR?
I've got James Robinson 1 spot higher.
Non-PPR, DK Metcalf, Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy.
I would go DK and then Ayuk, and then Jeudy.
Similar question. Ayuk, Julio Jones or Mooney? See where you have Julio.
Unless we get some report before kickoff that he's going to be on a pitch count, I'm just projecting a full workload for Julio, and that puts him ahead of both these guys for me.
Jeff Wilson or Zeke?
Zeke by a considerable margin for me, which I probably just jinxed Zeke.
Debo or T. Higgins?
That's the guy, because like projections-wise, I have Debo projected as a top 10, top 8 wide receiver, and I pulled him back a little bit since his first game back. But I didn't pull him back that far. I've got Debo over Higgins.
All right, and then I'll ask you separately, Ricky Seals-Jones or Austin Hooper or Jared Cook, who's the best streaming tight end?
I'm going to go with Austin Hooper. I think he should probably see 6 or 7 targets in this game, and he's a top 10 tight end for me.
That's Heath Cummings. Thanks for staying to this extended edition of Fantasy Football Today in 8. And good luck, everybody, at Week 14. We will talk to you later.
Justin Barrett from Group Chat on the Ringer NBA Show. This week, Rob, Waz, and myself talked about NYC basketball legend Kemba Walker planning to sign with the New York Knickerbockers. Take a listen. Waz, as a man of the people of New York City, specifically the New York City people, how are you feeling about one Kemba Walker, the pride of the Apollo Theater, of Rice High School, going back to the New York Knickerbockers?
I mean, you know, before we get to the realities of this situation, just on the sentimental level, it's a huge deal. Specifically because Kemba Walker is kind of he's the last of the Mohicans. He's the last of the New York City Hoopers of any significant relevance, right? It's basically him and Lance Stevenson, and I think Lance Stevenson is now in, like, Siberia or something. So, you know, Kemba being the last of the New York City Hoopers carrying that mantle, and, you know, let's face it, the thing about Kemba that makes this special is, like, he's not Steph.
Oh, you ready, bro?
He's not Ron Artest. Like, he doesn't have a complicated personality. Like, he is easily one of the most lovable hoopers of his generation, like, regardless of his New York affiliation. So, you know, he's going to embrace everything that this means sentimentally, and, you know, it's going to be great. Now, if we can get to the heartwarming parts of this, his knee has been bummed. He's had a bum knee for 2 years now, right? So, and he just got bought out of 2 years of a $74 million deal to leave, right? So that says a lot about his medical and what teams think about whether he or not he's going to be able to perform. So that's something that we got to monitor. But if he can get right at all, he's going to give the Knicks a lot of what they need as far as shot creation, offensive initiation in the pick and roll, shooting. You know, like, the guy can actually make an open jump shot. I think if he's healthy, he's a perfect fit for what they're trying to do. But, you know, the health factor is huge. You can't downplay it.
Well, and for the cost. You know, like, the fact that the Knicks are operating on a budget and they can still get a player of Kemba's hypothetical healthy caliber, that's a big deal. But I think, Waz, I think you're right in that that the Thunder were willing to buy him out, and this is a Thunder team that has long played every veteran asset it's had to this point to try to spin it into more picks. I think that says a lot about what their medical staff must make of Kemba's knee and his long-term trade value otherwise. Because if they thought there was any chance they were going to get something down the line, this would not be happening.
Yeah, so they have
that one bank downtown. I forgot the name of that shit.
We'll get something around that, maybe a little bit under. I gotta say, though, like, I agree with everything you guys are saying about the encore implications, but I care more about the vibes, man. Like, this is incredible. Like, this just continues the Knicks as completely turning around the Dolan era and becoming just a lovable, like, funky underdogs. If Kemba gives them 2 massive games where MSG just goes wild, or if he gives them 1 halfway decent playoff game, this is a win for both him and MSG.
No, this move is going to have a 100% approval rate.
Right. Yeah.
Like, think about the minutes he's taking. Like, I mean, you're swapping out Elfrid Payton minutes for Kemba Walker minutes. That's a huge thing.
Yeah, that's definitely getting rid of a Datsun for a Tesla. And, you know, and here's the thing. The MSG, obviously, when we finally got crowds back, and, you know, at least MSG Network was smart enough to send their announcers to the game and not having them watch it from their couch eating pretzels like other broadcasts were doing. Like, when during the playoffs, if you could listen to the MSG broadcast when Clyde and Mike Breen were calling the games, Clyde Frazier, the Knicks MSG color commentary guy, obviously